Beneath the veil of mist-covered valleys and forgotten riverbanks of ancient China lies a story so old it blurs the line between myth and recorded history. Before the Great War was even imagined, before Confucius spoke his words of wisdom, there existed two mysterious dynasties, the Xia and the Shang. But were they real, or legends born from the ashes of time? Ancient texts whisper of mighty kings and divine mandates, of bronze that gleamed like the sun and sacrifices that stained the earth crimson. Yet for thousands of years, no proof existed, only tales carved into oracle bones and songs passed down by firelight. Tonight, we dive deep into the shadows of antiquity to uncover how these early kingdoms shaped not only China, but the entire course of human civilization. And the deeper we go, the more we realize history, as we know it, might just be hiding the truth. China, the cradle of one of the world's most enduring civilizations. Its vast landscapes conceal ancient secrets buried beneath centuries of soil and silence. Archaeologists, historians, and adventurers alike have sought to unravel the mysteries of its earliest rulers, those who reigned before the Qin, before the Zhou, when gods and mortals walked side by side. The Xia and the Shang Dynasties, two names that hover between myth and history. The Xia, often called China's first dynasty, is said to have been born from floods, rebellion, and divine mandate. The Shang, with their cryptic oracle bones and sophisticated bronze technology, brought a new order, one that still echoes in Chinese culture today. But how did these mysterious dynasties rise, and how did they vanish into legend? This is not just history. This is the origin story of an empire. Before we uncover the truth buried beneath the Yellow River, make sure to subscribe to History Vault, where ancient legends, lost civilizations, and forbidden truths come alive. Your journey into the past begins now. Long before the Great Wall snaked across the mountains, before the emperors of the Han and Tang ruled from golden thrones, and long before written history began, there was a legend, whispered across generations, of a mighty king who tamed the floods and brought order to chaos. His name was Yu the Great, and his kingdom, the Xia dynasty. The tale begins along the banks of the Yellow River, a cradle of life and death. The ancient Chinese called it China's sorrow because its violent floods could wipe out entire settlements overnight. Yet, it was here that civilization first dared to rise. The myth says that Yu, chosen by heaven, spent years battling the raging waters that consumed the land. Unlike others who tried to dam the river, Yu worked with nature, digging channels, redirecting floods, and turning disaster into life. The gods watched in awe, and when the land finally calmed, the people crowned him king. But was this miracle man real? Did Yu the Great actually walk the earth? For thousands of years, the Xia dynasty remained a phantom, an origin story told in ancient texts like the records of the Grand Historian by Simon Qian, written over 1,000 years later. The Xia was said to have ruled for nearly 400 years, from around 2070 BCE to 1600 BCE, followed by the rise of the Shang. Yet, there were no inscriptions, no monuments, no definitive ruins. For modern historians, the Xia was less a dynasty and more a myth, a convenient tale created by later rulers to justify the divine right to govern. That belief began to crumble in the early 20th century. As China modernized, archaeologists began to search for the roots of their civilization, and they found something extraordinary. In 1959, near the banks of the Yi and Luo rivers in Henan province, they uncovered the ruins of Erlitou, a vast ancient city with palatial foundations, sophisticated road systems, workshops of bronze casting, and exquisite jade ornaments. Radiocarbon dating placed the site around 1900 BCE, precisely within the supposed time of the Xia. Suddenly, myth began to feel like memory. Erlitou wasn't just a village. It was an organized, centralized power. Archaeologists found the remains of multi-story palaces built with rammed earth, paved roads leading to ceremonial platforms, and evidence of social hierarchy. There were bronze weapons and intricate jade carvings that suggested a ruling elite, a civilization on the threshold of history. For many, Erlitou became the strongest candidate for the capital of the Xia dynasty. But skepticism persisted. Some scholars argue that Erlitou could just as easily represent the early Shang dynasty or transitional culture between the Neolithic and Bronze Age. There were no written records tying it directly to Xia. The truth, it seemed, remained elusive. Yet, the cultural continuity was undeniable. The artifact at Erlitou revealed a society obsessed with order, ritual, and heaven's favor, traits that would define Chinese civilization for millennia. The people of this forgotten kingdom lived by principles that would later become central to Chinese thought: harmony between man and nature, moral leadership, and divine legitimacy. At the heart of Xia's legend was the concept of the mandate of heaven, though not yet named as such. Yu's rule symbolized virtue rewarded by divine will. His successors, according to ancient texts, fell into decadence and tyranny, leading to their downfall, the very moral pattern that would justify the rise and fall of every dynasty that followed. The Xia were not just the beginning of Chinese civilization, they were its moral blueprint. But beneath the glory lies tragedy. According to legend, after Yu's death, his son Qi inherited the throne, marking the first known instance of hereditary monarchy in Chinese history. This act, some say, broke the ancient tradition of merit-based succession and set the stage for dynastic decline. Later Xia kings were said to grow cruel and corrupt, losing heaven's favor. The dynasty finally collapsed when Jie of Xia, the last king, descended into madness, indulging in excess, ignoring his people, and angering the gods. His cruelty sparked rebellion, and from the chaos rose a new power, the Shang Dynasty, led by the righteous Tang, who overthrew the Xia and claimed heaven's mandate for himself. Whether this story is history or allegory, it carries the pulse of something deeper, the transition from myth to civilization. The Xia represented humanity's first attempt to give divine meaning to power, to link kingship with morality and cosmic balance. In the silence of the Erlitou ruins, one can almost hear echoes of ancient drums, the voices of priests chanting to the heavens, the clang of bronze tools striking stone. The palaces are gone, their walls reduced to dust, but the spirit of the Xia lingers in the way China still views authority, virtue, and destiny. Perhaps Yu the Great never truly existed as a single man. Perhaps he was a symbol, a personification of collective memory, representing countless leaders who struggled against the floods of chaos to carve order from nature. The Xia dynasty, whether myth or truth, stands as a bridge between the world of gods and men, between the prehistoric tribes of the Yellow River and the first great civilization that would rise upon their bones. Today, as archaeologists continue to unearth new clues, fragments of pottery, the outlines of forgotten cities, the shimmering edge of jade buried in silt, the line between history and legend blurs ever further. Each discovery pulls the Xia from the fog of myth, revealing a people who may be more real than anyone dared to believe. And as the dust settles over the ancient plains of Henan, one question still haunts scholars and dreamers alike. Was the Xia dynasty truly the first chapter of China's story, or was it the echo of something even older, something humanity has long forgotten? Because if the Xia truly existed, then the origins of civilization in the East might be far older and far more mysterious than the world has ever imagined. When the Xia dynasty crumbled into dust, consumed by rebellion, corruption, and the wrath of heaven, a new power began to stir in the fertile plains of the Yellow River Valley. Out of chaos rose the Shang Dynasty, a civilization of bronze and bone, of rituals and revelation. For centuries, the Shang remained little more than a legend, until the earth itself began to speak. It was the year 1899, and a Chinese scholar named Wang Yirong was suffering from malaria. Seeking medicine, he sent his assistant to the local apothecary to buy a traditional remedy made from dragon bones. But when Wang examined the powder, something caught his eye. Strange carvings etched into the surface of the bones. They weren't random scratches. They were ancient characters, deliberate, precise, powerful. What Wang had stumbled upon would change Chinese history forever. Those so-called dragon bones were, in fact, oracle bones, the oldest known form of Chinese writing, dating back over 3,000 years. And they told a story of the Shang Dynasty, a people whose king spoke directly to the gods through fire, smoke, and cracked bone. For the first time, legend had left a message, written in the language of the divine. The oracle bones revealed a civilization that was complex, organized, and deeply spiritual. They recorded everything: wars and harvests, dreams and disasters, births and deaths. Kings would pose questions to their ancestors and deities. Will the rain fall tomorrow? Should we go to war? Will the queen give birth to a son? Then the bones were heated until they cracked. The patterns of those cracks were interpreted as answers, heaven's whispers etched into bone. The Shang kings ruled from their capital, Yin, near modern-day Anyang, a city that pulsed with ritual and innovation. Excavations at Inshu have revealed royal tombs filled with gold, jade, bronze, and human remains. The most famous among them belonged to Fu Hao, a warrior queen and high priestess whose tomb contained over 1,600 artifacts, including bronze weapons, jade ornaments, and ritual vessels. Her story shatters the stereotype of ancient women as passive figures. Fu Hao was both a general and a spiritual leader, commanding troops and performing sacred ceremonies. She was, in every sense, a symbol of the Shang's divine duality, power in both war and worship. But beyond the riches and rituals, the Shang Dynasty's true strength lay in their mastery of bronze. They perfected bronze casting like no other civilization of their age. The Shang didn't just create tools and weapons, they forged symbols of cosmic order. Their bronze vessels, decorated with intricate animal motifs and sacred patterns, were more than art. They were instruments of communication with the gods. Each vessel had meaning, each symbol a message to the heavens. The process was laborious, sacred, and precise, an act of devotion and dominance. The bronze industry became the backbone of Shang society. The ruling elite controlled its production, reinforcing their divine authority. In these metals gleamed their power, their faith, their fear. To the Shang, bronze was not just material, it was spiritual. The ability to shape earth and fire into divine form made them, in their eyes, intermediaries between man and heaven. Their religion reflected this same intensity. The Shang worshipped the supreme god, Shangdi, believed to command the forces of nature and human destiny. But they also revered their ancestors, believing the dead could influence the living. Each ritual, each sacrifice, was a plea for balance, a negotiation with the unseen. And those sacrifices were not symbolic. Archaeologists have uncovered mass graves near Shang temples, evidence of human and animal offerings. Servants, warriors, and captives were buried alive to accompany their kings in death, ensuring their eternal service in the afterlife. It was devotion taken to terrifying extremes. Yet, even in their devotion, the Shang saw patterns of doom. Oracle bones tell of ominous dreams, failed harvests, and divine displeasure. The kings, who once claimed heaven's favor, began to see its anger. One inscription reads, "Will the king's sickness end?" Another, "Will the rain fall?" Others speak of fears, rebellion, famine, signs in the stars. As the dynasty matured, power centralized in the hands of a single man, King Ju of Shang, the last and most infamous ruler. History paints him as a tyrant consumed by lust and cruelty. His court overflowed with excess. His throne was built upon fear. Ancient chronicles describe his wine lake and forest of meat, grotesque feasts of indulgence and arrogance. He executed loyal ministers, mocked sacred rituals, and filled his palace with torture chambers. The mandate of heaven, once earned through virtue, had now turned its face away. But the downfall of the Shang was not sudden. It was written, literally, in the oracle bones themselves. Prophecies warned of heaven's withdrawal, of rebellion rising in the west. That rebellion came in the form of King Wu of Ju, who declared that the gods had chosen him to restore order. The Battle of Mui, around 1046 BCE, was swift and brutal. Ju's army marched against Shang's forces, but many of King Ju's own soldiers defected mid-battle, refusing to die for a ruler who had lost heaven's blessing. As the Shang capital burned, the age of bronze gods and bone prophecies came to an end. King Ju, realizing his empire had fallen, climbed to the top of his burning palace and threw himself into the flames, the last act of a king abandoned by heaven. Yet, even in their ruin, the Shang left behind something eternal, a written language, a cultural identity, and a spiritual framework that would guide China for millennia. Their oracle bones evolved into the Chinese script still used today, a living thread connecting the present to the Bronze Age. Their rituals became the foundation of Chinese ancestor worship. Their belief in divine legitimacy shaped the political doctrine of the Mandate of Heaven, a concept that would define China's dynastic rhythm for 3,000 years. The Shang dynasty was more than just China's first historically verified kingdom. It was a civilization that looked directly into the face of the divine and dared to write down what it saw. A civilization that believed every crack in bone, every ripple of bronze, carried the will of heaven itself. And though their temples have crumbled and their cities turned to dust, their voice remains, carved into bone, whispering across 3 millennia. We were here, we were chosen, and we were doomed. When the fires of the Shang finally dimmed, and the smoke rose into the heavens, a new dawn emerged from the ashes, the dawn of the Zhou dynasty. The conquerors stood before the ruins of Yin, declaring that the mandate of heaven had passed to them. They claimed that the gods themselves had withdrawn their favor from corrupt Shang rulers and bestowed it upon the righteous Zhou. But in that moment of triumph, something far greater was born, an idea that would define not just China, but the very rhythm of its civilization for the next 3,000 years. The mandate of heaven was more than a political justification. It was a cosmic law. It declared that power was not inherited, but earned, a divine contract that could be revoked by heaven itself. If rulers governed with virtue, heaven would bless their land with harmony and prosperity. But if they fell into tyranny and corruption, nature would revolt. Floods, droughts, earthquakes, rebellion, all signs that heaven had turned its back. Thus began China's dynastic cycle, an unending loop of rise, decay, and renewal, forever guided by the heavens. And yet, the roots of this idea ran deeper than the Zhou. They stretched back into the shadows of the Xia and Shang, whose stories, half myth, half memory, shaped China's spiritual DNA. The Xia had represented the moral foundation of rulership, a society built on virtue and natural balance. The Shang had given structure to that belief, blending ritual with reason, crafting a civilization that saw kings as mediators between heaven and earth. Together, they forged a dual legacy, the mythic and the material, the divine and the human, that became the foundation of Chinese identity. Even today, their echoes are everywhere. In the bronze bells unearthed from ancient tombs, you can still see the craftsmanship of Shang artisans. In the jade ornaments buried beneath millennia of soil, you can feel the purity and balance the Xia once revered. And in the bones inscribed with prayers, you can read the beginnings of Chinese philosophy, a belief that every action, every choice, ripples through both heaven and earth. But what if these dynasties weren't just political entities? What if they were chapters in a much larger story, one about humankind's awakening, about the transition from chaos to order, from myth to civilization? Modern archaeology suggests exactly that. In the river valleys where the Great supposedly tamed the floods, scientists have found evidence of a cataclysmic flood event around 1900 BCE, eerily close to the time the Xia was said to have risen. Sediment layers, fossilized wood, and radiocarbon dating all tell a story of massive flooding that reshaped the landscape. Could this real flood have given birth to the legend of Yu, the man who conquered the waters and founded the first dynasty? It's a tantalizing possibility. Myths, after all, are not lies. They are memories distorted by time, encoded in story. And perhaps the Xia myth was humanity's attempt to remember a time when the world itself seemed to rise and fall beneath their feet. Then came the Shang, whose oracle bones bridged myth and record. Their script, their rituals, their belief in cosmic order, all of it evolved from what came before. The Shang turned the chaos of a natural world into a structured universe ruled by divine law. Their kings were no longer mere chieftains. They were sons of heaven, wielding both sword and spirit. The Shang taught China how to write, how to worship, how to rule. And the Zhou, who followed, transformed that inheritance into philosophy, into a moral system that guided emperors for ages. Yet, even with all this progress, something haunting lingers. For every dynasty that rose under heaven's blessing, another fell under its curse. Each believed they were chosen, yet each was doomed to lose at divine favor. The cyclical nature of fate, the idea that no empire lasts forever, became central to Chinese thought. In every fall of a dynasty, there was rebirth. In every collapse, renewal. The Xia and Shang were not failures. They were necessary sacrifices, the prototypes of a civilization that would perfect itself through endless repetition. Centuries later, as the Han, Tang, and Ming empires flourished, scholars would still look back to those ancient dynasties with reverence. The Xia became the mythical golden age of virtue, the Shang, the first great civilization of the Middle Kingdom. Together, they symbolize the origin of everything, the beginning of time, order, writing, kingship, and the eternal dance between man and heaven. But beneath the reverence, questions remain. Why did the Xia leave no definitive inscriptions? Why did the Shang rely so heavily on divination and blood? Were these truly human societies, or were they guided by something beyond human comprehension? Some ancient texts speak of heavenly mandates delivered through dragons and celestial beings, of kings communing directly with gods, of lights in the sky that marked the turning of dynasties. Could it be that the very origins of China's civilization were influenced by forces lost to history, or perhaps not of this world at all? Archaeologists tread carefully around such theories, but the mysteries persist. The Xia, still without definitive proof, remain suspended between fact and faith. The Shang, with their bones and bronzes, speak more clearly, yet still leave questions unanswered. How did they develop metallurgy so advanced that modern metallurgists still struggle to replicate their techniques? How did their written script emerge so suddenly, fully formed, as if borrowed from the divine? Each discovery brings us closer, yet the truth always stays just beyond reach. Perhaps that's what makes the story of ancient China so haunting. It's not just a tale of kings and wars, but of memory and myth, of how humanity remembers its beginnings through the lens of the sacred. Today, as China stands once again among the world's great powers, the spirits of Xia and Shang still whisper beneath its soil. Their legacy is not just in artifacts or ruins, but in the cultural heartbeat of a nation that never forgot where it came from. Every ritual, every festival, every stroke of a brush in Chinese calligraphy carries echoes of those first civilizations that dared to defy chaos and seek order under heaven's gaze. And perhaps that is the greatest truth of all, that civilizations may rise and fall, but their essence endures. The Xia and Shang may be long gone, but they live on in the philosophies, traditions, and hearts of a billion people who still walk the land their ancestors once ruled. In the silence of the Yellow River's banks, where mist rolls across ancient ruins and time feels suspended, one can almost hear the echo of distant drums, the faint chant of priests calling to heaven. The Xia, the Shang, their empires are dust, but their story has only just begun. And as the dust of ancient China settles, a haunting question remains. What other forgotten dynasties still sleep beneath its soil, waiting for their turn to rewrite history?